just romance and joyous song. May they surround us all live long, long live, long live, long live, romance and song.
Beautiful.
At White Oaks, we want our students to have it all. We want them to be thinkers. We want them to be problem solvers. We want them to be lovers and producers of art and music. We want them to be physically fit. And maybe most importantly, we want them to grow into fine human beings that know how to cope and get along with others in their world. One of our goals is to show students what's possible and give them experience in dealing with what's possible. Because we feel that knowing that, they can then go on to successfully play to their strengths throughout life and work toward improving their weaknesses. We think that perhaps these are lofty goals, but then again, if you know what's possible, it's very hard to settle for less. The mission that we have here is a comprehensive one. We pride ourselves in implementing a developmentally sound, well-balanced program for students that requires them to achieve to the highest level possible. In order to do that, our goals emphasize a strong program in language arts and mathematics. We want our students to be good communicators, and we want them to be problem solvers. Because our curriculum is very extensive, we attempt whenever possible to integrate areas of the disciplines. This makes the program more meaningful for students and more interesting. So when you see a music class, it's very possible that the music can be based on a social studies theme, or a social studies lesson will include strategies in reading a textbook for a better understanding. We have many cultures here that we represent, but the overriding school culture is one of high expectations for student achievement. And since student achievement requires hard work, and that's not always easy, we have a number of support systems and recognition systems in place so that we can promote and ensure positive student outcomes.
What's up, White Oaks? This is Bashir Abbasi reporting the announcements for today. The lunch today will include spaghetti with meat sauce, salmon nuggets with baked potatoes. You also have a choice of two: green peas, tossed salad, and fresh fruit. The biteable and chef salad will also be available. Today is B-Day on the playground. Now the White Oaks community wishes a very happy birthday to Sukar Preet Darli. The weather for today is high in the 50s, afternoon showers, and low 40s. A special thanks to camera person Shawnee Garahan. Now the White Oaks News Team wishes you a pleasant day.
Your draft needs to be edited. One of the things we talked about yesterday was reading your draft aloud to each other. When you're reading aloud, does the story read clearly? Does it sound smooth? Are you using descriptive details in your writing? Are your mechanics correct? When this is filled in and you're ready, then you can come on up to me and go on to your Alpha Smarts. Some of you are working on Alpha Smarts and some of you are doing illustrations. And I told you to split it up so that you share the typing and you share your illustrations.
The language arts program at White Oaks is comprehensive in that it provides the student with an integrated curriculum where they can practice and master speaking, listening, reading, and writing. At White Oaks, the students are formally assessed in both reading and writing in the fall and spring of each year. This data helps to guide us in an appropriate instruction so that we can build a strong community of readers and writers. As the reading specialist at White Oaks, I have the opportunity to demonstrate reading and writing strategies that can be added to the teacher's existing repertoire. These strategies help the students to comprehend, retain, and utilize the information that they have read.
Did yesterday. Ready? Let's just read the top to here. Go. Big star was still shining through.
In this second grade classroom, we have been working on ways to understand what we have read. One particular method is to look at the types of questions that can be asked of text that we have read.
Who shook Nanaba gently to wake her up? What would your answer be? Tell?
Grandmother.
That's right. I could take grandmother and highlight it because the answer is right there. Good job. Let's read this particular.
Looking at questions where the answers are right there is one type of question where the students can gain information and understand what they have read better. Another type of question demands the student to make an inference. He needs to read what the author has presented and then use details that he can pull from his own head to make a concrete answer to a specific question.
Her last item, she went to the checkout counter. Are there some details that the author gave us?
The card.
Push the cart. Good job. Good detail. Another one, Brittany?
The list to get some food.
All right, the list.
Using these relationships between questions and answers helps a student to comprehend and fully understand what is on the written page.
Good. So would you agree then that item is a good one to have underlined?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you feel like you're a marvelous me? I feel like I'm a marvelous me. And you know, this story is about a little bear, who's actually a little girl bear, and she's going to talk about all the things that she would like to be when she grows up. Kirk, what are you going to be when you grow up?
A pilot.
I think you might be a perfect pilot. I think you might be a perfect pilot too. So I'm going to write down that word perfect up here because I think that you will be a perfect pilot. In guided reading, children are placed in appropriate levels that build on their strengths and show us where their weaknesses are. When they're in a guided reading group, I can work with them individually and in small groups to assess what they're working on, what kind of things are the strategies that they're using. And then I can choose books that are appropriate to those strengths and help them to build on the things that they need. When I'm working with the kids in the guided reading group, what I do is I watch them visually and I listen to them to find out what cues and strategies they're using to help them figure out words that are new to them. While I'm working with children in guided reading, the rest of the children are working in centers in our room. I have about 4 or 5 centers that the kids work on. This week the centers that we'll be working on are the writing center, where the children will be working on 4 of the computers in our classroom. They're working on publishing books, and they're also working on rewriting and editing stories that they've worked on in a whole group with me. In the reading center, the children are reading around the room, which is where they take pointers and big fun goofy glasses and small sunglasses, and they go around the room and they read everything that's on the walls. They take poems from our poetry center and they read the poems in all different places in the room. In addition to reading around the room, the children are at the listening center listening to books on tape, and they're also given the opportunity to read any of the books in our library at that time. The game center is the next center that we're working on. This week we've got the game Scrabble. So it's a children's version of Scrabble, and the children are working on spelling skills as well as cooperating with each other and turn-taking. While I'm working with my guided reading children and the rest of the kids are working at centers, I wear a hat when I'm working with these kids, and it's a big goofy hat that is made out of tubers and zots. And the reason I wear this hat is because it's a visual cue to the other children to let them know that I'm working with a group and that they're not to interrupt me. If they have to ask someone a question and they feel that they need to talk to me, what this hat lets them know is that I'm busy and they need to go and ask 3 other children to help them with their problem. If the 3 other children can't help them, they can go up to the board in the front of the room and take a number card. And that number card will let me know that when I'm finished with my group, that there are children who need to speak to me personally. It was a perfect word for this. What did you do, Kirk?
I said I skipped it and then I went to, and then I didn't know what this is, so I read it all over again and I got it right.
Because what do good readers do?
Look at the picture and
Read all the way to the end, don't they? Excellent job. You're a good reader.
Pictograph shows symbols. Okay. Yesterday we also talked about the sampling, the grouping of people and things that are surveyed. Talked about the range, the difference between the largest and smallest. Talked about the mode, number that appears the most. Middle number is the median, and the mean is your average. This is what we want to work with today, these 4 items.
Here at White Oaks, the math program it follows the Fairfax County Program of Studies. We establish goals for the students here so that they can help them to achieve success. We do this through technology. We like to enhance the program through Windows on Math, through Laserdisc programs, through videos that enable the children to see everyday situations. We encourage them to use manipulatives.
Take the pink one and represent your numbers there. And summer is red hot, so let's use red for summer. Fall brings out all the leaves and everything, so let's do brown for fall. And we're going to average them into one class average group. So let's take pod 1.
In the classroom this morning, we're going to be using manipulatives to show probability. We're going to be using the Windows on Math program to show the children a real-life situation dealing with weather. We're going to be graphing their situations that they see through activity, usage of M&Ms, and predicting how many different colors are in their little packet, and then they'll be able to show their findings on a graph paper. We recognize that problem solving is an integral part of every mathematical concept, and through the use of problem solving, the students enhance their critical and higher level thinking skills.
Put your name at the top of your paper. A scientific question.
How does your kaleidoscope work?
How does a kaleidoscope work? If you have that, you should go ahead and write it down under the question section.
Light bounces off of the mirrors and makes lots of different pictures on what you aim it on.
It bounces back mirror to mirror and you can see it.
All right, so
our goal at White Oaks and in the county is to give the children a hands-on approach to science. Each classroom has a library of books, and my class has about 40. I require the children to read 16, but I really encourage them to read as many as they can, and some children even read all of the science trade books. The emphasis is for the children to get a very strong foundation in the concepts of science, so that when they go to the kits that the county provides, they will be able to ask a lot of questions and come up with the scientific principles behind the activities they do.
just in about 1 inch into your kaleidoscope and take your eye pretty close to the kaleidoscope and count how many pencils you can see.
3. Put the eraser on one side and
the eraser side. Put one side up to your eye and then put the pencil in just a little way. You'll have to share it. Yes.
Whoa, there's a lot.
Do it. Both of you. You do it like this.
We also want the children to come up with hard scientific principles. Through the use of experimental design, the children learn to ask the questions, formulate experiments, and come up with conclusions and results for their experiments. We want them to have the hard knowledge of facts that come from their experiments. Otherwise, we don't really know that learning has taken place. It's just been a fun activity, and we want science to be more than just a fun activity, but for them to discover why things happen in the world.
What conclusion do you come to?
You can see the same thing on each mirror.
Take a step forward. Take a step. That's it. Don't hold on to the chair. That's great. Yeah.
I'm a member of the Human Relations Committee, and together with the PTA, we've decided to do an evening performance that we've titled A Taste of Culture. It's going to be kind of a marriage of two ideas. One, an idea of the students performing for the parents, and an idea of us having kind of a cultural food exchange.
We've been working with this program with the music department as well as the classroom teachers, and the students have been studying the different countries in their classrooms, and then we're bringing it into the gym doing the different folk dances and dances from the different areas. We did the Chinese ribbons in the gym. That's our present unit right now, which is the dance unit, which of course integrates with the Taste of Culture program.
At White Oaks, we feel that music is really important, as well as are the visual arts, drama, band and strings, because this helps to communicate different ethnic cultures in a meaningful way. When you reach the arts, people can really express their humanity in a way that says something to them about their own culture. It's fun, it's enjoyable. When you move to music, when you sing, when you play instruments, you're actually letting people know who you are in a very meaningful way. The third grades, for instance, are going to be learning a Korean hand game, and this is something that's truly representative of Korea. In fact, some of the children who are of Korean ancestry have come back to school and said, my mother did this same hand game when she was a child, or we learned it with different words, or we know the Korean words to it. And it just seems to connect with the children so that they can really enjoy the experience.
Today's an exciting day. We're going to vote for our favorite Virginia Young Reader today. Just like when your parents go to vote for the president, they have a ballot that they use, and you have a ballot too, and you have a voting booth where you're going to.
Virginia Young Readers, as the title indicates, is a statewide reading program that introduces students to the best of recently published children's literature. How the program works is students must read or have read to them 4 of 10 nominated books to qualify to vote for their favorite book. I then tally those votes, send them into the county. That tally is then sent on to the state level, and then a winner is selected. Not only does this program provide an opportunity for students to read good literature, but also leads to some really good discussions about the voting process. At White Oaks, we have 5 computers that can access the internet. With adult supervision, the students search the World Wide Web for facts and information on topics that are assigned by their classroom teachers. This year, we've had 2nd graders searching for information on animals, and 2 classes of 4th graders have looked for information about famous poets. The Internet's a wonderful resource for information retrieval. We do not, however, use it to the exclusion of traditional media. We still use encyclopedias and nonfiction books, magazines, and periodicals. With this exciting technology, parents and educators are working together to guide our children to becoming knowledgeable consumers of information. Students today don't need to ask, is there any information? They have to figure out, of all this information, what am I going to use that's most reliable and relevant?
Technology is an integral aspect of all areas of White Oaks curriculum. We are surrounded by a wealth of modern hardware and software that our PTA has helped to fund. This creates an environment where students and staff can all become productive workers. We use technology to develop problem-solving strategies, use the writing process, conduct thorough research, as well as create multimedia presentations. Historically accurate settings as well are enhanced through programs such as CASTLE, where 5th graders, while they study the Middle Ages, can do research into these medieval times. They will develop their own original stories and interact in settings that are historically accurate. Technology integration is preparing our students for citizenship in today's information society.
To enlist other people in the plan for a specified payment.
This method of selling has been open to much abuse and criticism, and in some countries it is illegal.
Angry Albanian demonstrators believe their government should have protected them from the schemes. They began protesting in January. The demonstrations have since escalated.
Current events is unique when compared to other areas in the curriculum. Sometimes you can predict what the next day's lesson is going to be, but there's no one, not even the teacher, who knows tomorrow's top story. The current events includes history, lots of geography, all fields of science, math, sociology, even psychology. In addition, current events crosses student and class placements. There are 3 base school classes and 2 GT classes that meet 9:20 to 9:45, Monday through Friday. Most of my students are truly interested and enjoy current events. There are many students from the base school who look forward to these morning sessions as much, if not more, than the GT students. Each day at 4:30, we download the CNN Newsroom show from Georgia. I preview it when approximately 8 o'clock in the morning, and the lesson is ready for students at 9:20. They watch the CNN Newsroom show, a 15-minute show. After that, there are 7 questions presented to the students. To make it a little more fun, there are 3 bonus questions, and if a correct answer is given for one of them, each student receives a little prize. There is a country that was the victim of get-rich pyramid schemes. The government did nothing to protect its people. They have been rioting for 6 This format results in teamwork and sportsmanship. What's that?
Albania.
Albania is correct. Very good. Very good. They are developing a new housing community in East Jerusalem. Who's doing the building and who's protesting? Who's doing the building? Israelis is correct. Who's protesting?
Palestinian.
That's correct. Well done. Bonus question. Number 4. Who is the leading producer of silver in the world?
Mexico.
Mexico's correct. Thank you very much, and goodbye, good luck, and we'll see you tomorrow. It's an invigorating way to start the day. At the end of the session, everyone feels a little more knowledgeable. Tomorrow we'll do 4 questions instead. Oh, we need a trade?
Yeah.
What trade?
We have a very exciting program at White Oaks that is entitled Mr. Midas, of which 2 5th grade classes are actively involved in. It's an economic simulation where youngsters in both classes are given the opportunity to participate in a real-life, hands-on economic experience. The program consists of 2 parts. The first of all is the organizational part, and the organization is a series of first of all, steps in developing the program, starting off with the establishment of an economic base. For our program, we have a gold standard. Following the establishment of the gold standard, we form a variety of departments, student-operated departments, which are charged with managing the program throughout the course of the entire year. The second component is the participation. Students are given 2 levels of participation. First of all, they can join one of the departments and earn a salary. After a brief interview, an application process, they begin working in the department and continue for the entire year. The second component, of course, is the marketplace. The marketplace is a very active opportunity where the youngsters own and operate their own businesses. They form their businesses with working capital, establishing the products from cost, operating expenses. They learn very quickly what profit is and maintain excellent records.
So whenever you've got an object that you're selling, you know how much you paid for it, and you know how much you're going to sell it for. Okay? And the rest is called profit. All right? Great.
What's the name?
The program blends a variety of the curriculum, math, language arts, and basic life skills that the kids learn in the classroom with reality. And there's so many facets of learning that takes place. The youngsters are truly enriched.
Does this come with instructions? Yes, it does.
As usual, we'd like to start this class meeting with our compliments.
I would like to compliment Adam on his how to do speech, even though it didn't really work.
Conflict resolution at our school involves two things, classroom meetings and the conflict mediation corner for children. In classroom meetings, what we try and do is to help students learn how their emotions affect their behavior. We also try and help them understand how their behaviors affect other people in the classroom.
The solutions that you generate, they need to be related to what we're talking about. So what the problem is, they need to be reasonable, a reasonable solution to that. In other words, if someone is, let's see, name calling, okay? Reasonable would not be to keep him out of the classroom for the next 3 weeks, right? And it needs to be respectful. We're not here to embarrass, we're here to help people change their behaviors.
In the conflict mediation corner, what the children do is use a conflict resolution bridge. And with bridges, what we usually try and do is to get from one side to another. With the conflict resolution bridge, what we have is two people on different sides, two different views of an issue. And they're trying to get from both sides to meet in the middle ground. A lot of this depends on teaching children certain skills. One of the most important skills that we try and teach children is listening to the other person's point of view. That's hard for adults, and it's certainly hard for children. But what we try and have them do is to listen how the person feels, what the person wants, and then together to come up with some solutions as to how they can both get what they want.
Our main support is through funding. Over 20% of our budget has been dedicated to supporting technology and the teachers in learning about technology. And we firmly believe that our children need to be computer literate if they're going to survive in today's world. And for that reason, much of our hard-earned funds go for supporting technology here at White Oaks. The other part of our program that we're very proud of is our parent volunteers. We have a volunteer coordinator who recruits parents to work in the school in lots of different ways. We have parents who work in the classroom to support the teachers. We have parents who work in the library to help with the media specialists. We have parents who spend a lot of time and energy raising funds to support the extracurricular kinds of activities that we offer here at White Oaks. We're very proud of our parent volunteers, and they do a good job and are hardworking and add a lot to our school. We believe that school should not just be an isolated experience for children. It should be a complement to their lives, and it should involve parents and teachers and children working together and being together both in school and after school.
We're very fortunate in our school. As a community of learners, we know what we're about. We set our goals clearly and we follow them. And all of the stakeholders are involved. And it's the follow-through, I think, that makes this school one of excellence.